What's going on, guys? This is John Zakari, and today I'd like to talk about Nintendo Switch pre-orders selling out pretty much everywhere. Even the Pro controller for the system appears to be selling out like crazy. So what does this mean exactly? You've got people claiming this points to the Switch being another Wii perhaps in terms of sales. Then you've got people saying this doesn't really matter, insinuating this may really only account for the die-hard Nintendo fans. In my opinion, both sides here kind of have a point, meaning I get to disagree with everyone. I love it. While it's certainly a good thing to sell out of pre-orders, the obvious follow-up question is, how many pre-orders were there? As clearly, if I make 10 of something and they all sell out, what does that really mean? First off, there is the case that yes, your hardcore Nintendo fans are going to be the early adopters. These people, myself included, we're probably going to be buying this thing no matter what. And there's another group too that I think is throwing these numbers off that many aren't really talking about right now, and that's the scalpers. Sure, whenever there's a new system coming out, you've got people that are going to grab them and try and flip them. And if you look on eBay, you'll see there are tons of Switches available. But I think scalpers are even more drawn to this thing than your typical system release. Why is that? Well, Nintendo actually just released another piece of hardware a few months ago. Yeah, the NES Classic Edition, which went on to be one of the hottest items of the holiday season. And with an extremely limited run, you can still find the mini system being resold at a price point multiple times its suggested retail price. So Nintendo as a hot commodity is kind of fresh in people's minds. And I think that was kind of Nintendo's intention with the Classic. Not necessarily to fill resellers' pockets, but to kind of bring Nintendo's name to the forefront before the big Switch news, which seemed to work as I saw the Classic all over the mainstream media when it dropped. So yeah, I will say the majority of these initial systems are probably largely going to those two groups, the diehard fans and the resellers. The ones going to the resellers likely to also end up in a diehard's hands eventually. Nintendo has stated that they are shipping 2 million units worldwide in the first month, which will include all of these pre-orders. Again, going back to my initial question, is how many have already been sold? Basically, what will actually find its way onto store shelves in that first month? Judging by Nintendo's past track record, I'm going to assume not many. And here's where I take issue with Nintendo's low launch inventory tactic. For one, if systems aren't available at launch, you may lose people who are more impulsive about buying something new. This was totally me with the NES Classic Edition. I was ready to buy one, hell, maybe 2 or 3, giving the additional ones out as gifts for Christmas, but they were gone almost instantly. Now, especially with the Switch on the horizon, I wouldn't buy one even if I walked past it sitting in a shelf at a store, and I'm sure there are tons of people who feel a similar way. And this could be a problem for the Switch. I mean, let's say Nintendo fixes up their advertising and pushes a big campaign for this thing at launch. It does more spots on Jimmy Fallon and whatnot, but what's the point if people can't buy them? And what's the major launch title for this thing? That big day one system seller? Just Dance? No. Of course, it's The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Looks to be a fantastic title, and one that will probably be worth waiting for if you can't pick up a Switch on day one. Except for one problem. You don't have to wait for a Switch, as the game will also launch for the Wii U. And if people decide they don't want to wait for more Switches and buy Zelda on the Wii U, it's probably going to be a while before the next Switch game that really entices them to buy the system. Now, the launch in the months that follow can go a multitude of ways. What's nice is, again, you have got the diehards on board that are going to drive the sales at the beginning for sure, buying up all the games, accessories, and of course the consoles. But it's everyone else that's going to decide if this thing sees any real long-term success. And that brings me to what I think will be a huge make or break point for the system, and that's its first holiday season. Yeah, there isn't much in terms of big titles coming post-Zelda until this holiday, but Nintendo seems to be aiming at putting some heavy hitters in the holiday lineup. Xenoblade 2, Fire Emblem Warriors, both of those are among them, but the big one, of course, is Mario Odyssey, what I'm considering the first major Switch exclusive. Honestly, the launch can be a hit or miss. Maybe demand will begin high and peter out in the coming months, maybe momentum will remain high until the holiday, but I believe holiday 2017 is when we'll really find out what the Switch is made of. It will be up against dozens of AAA titles for other platforms, as well as Microsoft's new Xbox Scorpio system. Oh yeah, this is when it's going to be sink or swim, I think, for the Switch. So if I think the holiday season is more important than the launch, how do I think Nintendo is going to fare? Well, that's partly going to depend on Nintendo. So far, it seems they are doing some serious work to beef up that holiday period. Fire Emblem Warriors just got that fall 2017 release window during the Fire Emblem Direct, and I would not be shocked if we see a few more similar surprises in the lead up to the holidays. Plus, the Switch will have built up a bit of a catalog at that point. Zelda, of course, Splatoon 2 will be out, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so people will certainly have options. But still, they will have options on other systems too. More so, in fact. And that's where Nintendo really needs to push the portability factor, the thing that sets it apart from the competition. More ads like that first Switch trailer. Nintendo, please. Don't waste time promoting games like 1-2 Switch. Showcase the heavy hitters like Zelda and Mario. And then of course there's price, and this is where I'm hoping Nintendo really nails it this holiday. Nintendo loves their bundles, and I'm sure we'll get many for the Switch, but I think if Nintendo can manage to do a Mario Odyssey Switch bundle, in my dreams it would come out at $300, the launch price of the core system. But even if they can get it down to like $320 or $330, I think that would work. However much they can discount the price at holiday, if they can push out something like that, in addition to the things I've previously mentioned, I think Nintendo has the potential to have a really strong holiday season. They could close out their first year on a high note and really set the rest of the Switch's life up for success. And with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your predictions on the Switch's first year in the comments. What are your hopes? What are your fears? As always, I'm John Zakari, and thanks for watching.